Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Eric Hammerling, who's the Executive Director for the Connecticut Forest and Park Association. Sir.
It's great to see you, Pete.
Hey, buddy. How are you? What's
I'm
new?
Doing super. Oh, my God. Well, as you know, it's always all about forests, parks, and trails for CFPA.
Yeah.
And we're at that point of the season where it's been a little bit hot out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's a perfect time to go find a nice shady treed trail to find your way on. And it's also a time that people are kind of gearing up for the fall, because the fall is the season where we probably have the most people out on the trails. Right? We have fewer bugs out there, beautiful foliage, though we'll see what's going to happen with foliage this year.
Yeah.
And a lot of projects that are happening. We've had, over the last 11 weeks, a great summer trail crew that's been out all over the state. 9 young people, all between 19 and 25, taking time to learn about the outdoors. They're camping every week, going from project to project, building bridges, building boardwalks, and making sure that the trails are open and available for everyone. So it's a busy time for all of them. For me, it's a little bit of a downtime because they're no longer in session at the General Assembly at the moment. However, as you know, it's political season, and this is an election year, so there's a lot of interest in different politicians talking about their connections to the outdoors and climate and all those issues that people care about. So, no shortage of fun that we're always having, as you know.
Absolutely not. And what amazes me, especially now in the summer, if you turn on the news, everybody's reporting about all the parks being filled to capacity.
Every weekend, it seems, about 25 parks are going to close because they're at capacity. Obviously, it's much better to close when they're at capacity than closing because nobody's going and no one cares about the parks. I think there's a certain point at which they're going to have to probably get some additional parking options at a few places. But people are getting outside and using the parks, and that's what it's supposed to be all about.
Absolutely.
The parks are for everyone. And thanks to the Passport to the Parks program, if you have a Connecticut license plate on your car, you get into the parks for free. And so people are taking full advantage of that. And what better place is there when it's one of those hot, steamy weekends than head down the shoreline and put your toes in Long Island Sound and just enjoy our amazing beaches. So it's really, this is a great time of year.
Absolutely. Now, how did the CFPA prioritize the forests and parks and trails during the legislature before the bonding commission in July? I guess there was a big bonding meeting?
There was, Well, as you know, Governor Lamont has not been a huge fan of bonding. He wants the state to be very careful and cautious with how it uses the credit card and how we invest in those important priorities. And fortunately, at the end of July 29th, there was a meeting of the Bond Commission that made some unprecedented investments in the outdoors. $10 million for open space protection, so working with land trusts to try to conserve land. $15 million in state park infrastructure, which is all about fixing up those places that are getting a lot of people going to them all the time. And one of the big projects that's getting some significant funding is a rehab project at Rocky Neck of their CCC pavilion, which is a beautiful building, but has fallen to a little bit of state of disrepair. So there's work that needs to be done there. And then, in addition to all that great investments, there was $9 million for recreational trails and greenways, which is the largest infusion of funding for that grant program, which works with CFPA and many other organizations out there that are doing, municipalities that are doing great work on trails. This is a way to fund those critical projects that help to rehab and connect and get people outdoors. So it was a huge bonding commission meeting, and we're really excited about some things that are going to actually have some funding to be able to get people outdoors and do all the work that needs to be happening. So this was a wonderful bond commission meeting, and I don't say that very often.
No. And I'm assuming you were there.
I was watching it remotely.
Okay.
And it was exciting, because I think there is a recognition that people have been getting outdoors at record numbers during the pandemic.
Right.
We're still in one, by the way.
Right.
And it still is one of those things that we can all do for our health, is to get outdoors, get a little bit away from all the craziness of our lives and recharge. So it takes money to take care of those places. We certainly know that at CFPA. And so we're really pleased that the governor has made that investment, because the bond commission only meets when the governor says we're going to meet. The governor is the one who sets the agenda, so we think there's some really good stuff that they've moved forward.
I didn't realize that the bond commission only meets when the governor says we need to meet.
Yeah. Oh, and in fact,
I never knew that.
Yeah. Well, and also the bond commission does not meet if the governor says, you know what, we're not going to meet. And so it used to be years ago that you could kind of count on a bond commission meeting almost once a month.
Right.
The last few years, it's just been just a few meetings each year.
Right.
So again, that they met in July, and that they made these investments and these commitments for the future is really exciting to us.
Now, I believe at Hammerling in Madison they have a Greenways Trail.
They do.
Let's talk about it. What is it?
Sure. So the Shoreline Greenway Trail goes right through Hammerling. It goes to Guilford and through Branford. It's a biking trail that a lot of people are using, and it's really, with biking trails, in some instances you just need to, paint some dotted lines on an already paved area.
Right.
But often there is a need to construct new areas of trail, or even acquire land to keep a trail connected, and they've been doing that in the Shoreline Greenway Trail. So it's become a great asset in this part of Connecticut, and we're happy to see them thrive.
Absolutely. Now, you guys did Trails Day last time you and I were together. How did that go?
It was fantastic. Trails Day every year is that first weekend in June.
That's right.
And this year, June 4th and 5th, happened to have the most incredible weather we've had all year. And so people were outdoors in great spirits, and we estimate about 6,000 people participated in Trails Day all around the state. There were about 200 events happening all around the state. And it's an opportunity for municipalities, for land trusts, for CFPA, for AMC, for lots of other outdoor groups to use that as a great opportunity to attract people and get them outdoors. We're also really excited to be working with some partners who are really focusing on making sure that people of color are connected to the outdoors, and Latino outdoors, Outdoor Afro. We're also participating in Trails Day and getting people outdoors, and we love to see that, because the outdoors are for everyone.
Right.
There have been historical obstacles to people of color to access the outdoors equitably, so that's something that is really important for our future and for today. So we were excited that this year there was a lot of great energy there as well.
Now let's also talk about the Passports to the Park program.
Well, the Passport to the Parks program is something that we all contribute to.
Right.
Every time we renew our registration on our vehicles, we pay a little extra. It's $5 per year per vehicle. And that collectively, between all of us who register our vehicles in the state, adds up to about $20 million that helps to support park operations. So, when you go to the park and you see a seasonal park maintainer out there, making things look nice, cleaning, bathhouses and all those things that have to happen to keep a place in good order, that's paid for by the passport to the parks. And in return for each of us making that, relatively small investment, we all get access to state parks for free. There's no longer a charge at the gate for Connecticut residents. And it used to be, to go to a place like Hammonasset or Rocky Neck, you would have to pay $13 for one visit.
Wow.
So compare that to $5 per year, and you get full access to all the state parks and help to keep them maintained. So it's a great program. It just started in 2018, and we hope it will be in place for a long, long time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what else is CFPA up to?
Well, right now there's, of course, a lot of interest in climate change.
Yeah.
And when you think about climate change, one of the things that people often gravitate to is thinking about trees. And, because trees are really important to soak up carbon as they're growing and store it in their wood. And that's one of the things that we can do to try to do something about climate change, is to make sure that we have healthy forests in place. One of the ways to make sure that that happens is to actually acquire land and make sure it stays as forest.
Sure.
Or when people are developing land, encourage them to do it in a way that's going to be as compact as possible, so as much forest as can be protected is protected.
Okay. Speaking of trees, I have a feeling you know where I'm going with this.
I think I know where you're going with this. Okay, there has been science done over the last several years about how trees communicate with other trees, and it's absolutely mind-blowing.
Okay. Well, tell us.
And some of this, is attributed to a phenomenon often called the Wood Wide Web.
Okay.
Because it's a connection underground between trees. It's actually these fungal mycelia that are connected. It's like a web. It looks like the internet would look with wires, but underground in a forest. And it's actually a way that trees can communicate things to each other. For example, if you've ever wondered why oak trees drop acorns at the same time, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you just have one tree dropping them here and another tree.
Right.
It's actually a survival strategy for oaks to drop all of their acorns at once so that they can swamp those insects and squirrels and other things that eat acorns, and be able to get some to make it through. And actually become oak trees of the future. That's done because these trees are communicating with each other to say, here's when we should drop our acorns.
There you go.
And it's pretty amazing. There's actually been studies done in Africa about acacia trees and how they can make themselves less tasty to giraffes.
Okay.
And the way that they do that is they actually emit a chemical into the air, and they will, if one acacia tree is being eaten by a giraffe, nibbled on, they will let other acacia trees know that this is a good time to not be tasty for giraffes. So they will actually change their composition, become more bitter. And it's interesting how evolution works, because giraffes have also found out that they know that this is happening. So they make sure that as they are approaching acacia trees, they do it from downwind rather than upwind, because they know that if they do it from upwind, they're going to be coming to trees that have already gotten the message that they should be not tasty. So there are all these and one more thing about the Wood Wide Web. They not only can they communicate with each other, they can actually share resources, and this is a pretty neat thing.
Really?
They can trees can, through networks underground, share phosphorus, carbon, nitrogen, other basic minerals, so that if you have a tree that has plenty of those minerals, and it sees another tree another tree that might need those, it can actually share those resources underground. And I think that the more and more people learn about forests, the more they understand that it's not just a collection of trees; it's actually a network of trees that are connected to each other. And I'm sure we'll talk some other time too about the Wood Wide Web and some new things that they're learning, because there's a lot of research being done on that fascinating subject.
Absolutely, absolutely. Eric, would you mind sticking around for another segment?
I'd be happy to.
We'll be right back.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Eric Hammerling, who's the Executive Director of the Connecticut Forest and Park Association. Sir, welcome back, buddy.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you,
me
Pete.
too, me too. It's been a while since we've done this. So let's see, what did we talk? We talked about Trails Days. Let's talk about trails in general.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we spend a lot of time thinking about is, are the trails that are there today in the right place? Okay. And you would think, well, if a trail is there, well, that's where it should be. But actually, our thinking about trail sustainability has changed quite a bit over time. It used to be, back in the old days, that the way to have a trail is just to go as quickly as you can from point A to point B. So straight up the hill, straight down the other side, the quickest path is the best path. But we actually found over time that those are also the places that will erode more quickly and aren't particularly sustainable. So you'll see more and more thinking about and more work being done to help trails kind of move on the contours of the land and be in a position where they'll actually be sustainable. And that after each storm and each weather event, we don't have to come up with a new way to think about our trails, because they actually will maintain their shape and be much more sustainable if they're designed the right way. Right. So there have been a number of projects that we've been participating in over the last few years where we've said, you know what, where this trail is needs to be changed, and sometimes it even involves moving it onto some different property in different areas to make sure it's going to be there for the future. So trails are always changing. Now we do have some great online resources so that people can find out where the trails are and how to get there. And we always encourage people to go to the interactive map that we have on our website. Basically, you can find parking areas and trailheads for all of the Blue Blazed hiking trails, almost 900 miles of trail all around the state in about 96 towns. So there is a lot of different places that people can go, and we want to make sure that they get there safely. And once they hit the trail too, one of the neat things about this interactive map is you can turn on the GPS on your phone if you're out with your phone, and you actually can see a red dot on the map of where you are. So it makes it much easier to find yourself on the landscape. Hopefully it also means fewer people will get lost. I mean, the blazes are right there on the trees to follow. But sometimes when people are in a conversation or whatever, we'll lose track of where they are. And this is a way to both help you get into the woods and get out of the woods as well.
Now let's talk about the Blue Blaze hiking trails.
Well, the Blue Blazed hiking trails, they're called the Blue Blazed hiking trails because the blaze, the painted blaze, about the size of a dollar on a tree, is blue.
There you go.
And interestingly enough, there was, back in the 1920s, a famous experiment that was done of, what is the right color for trails to be blazed if you want people to see them late into the evening.
Right.
And I think a few beers might have been involved in this experiment, but a number of pieces of wood were painted with various colors of paint.
Okay.
And some people, again, I think tipping a few beers, looked across all of these different blazes and said, and they all agreed that the blaze that they saw latest into the evening was that light blue that is the now, for a period of time, it was called CFPA blue in various paint stores.
There you go.
But we've been using that shade of blue ever since.
Okay. And how are you guys doing from the start of the pandemic to where we are now?
Right now, I think with a lot of different organizations, they saw a great groundswell of interest during the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, 2021. We still see a great interest in people getting outdoors. However, things are changing, right? And I think there's a real interest in the public of doing lots of other things that it has been really restrained in doing over the last couple years. And so, we always wonder, will people revert to pre-pandemic, or will they stay connected to the outdoors? I think it's too soon to tell, but I can certainly say, this year, we've seen a lot of people outdoors, a lot of people on the trails, and we're hoping that some of the good habits that were built during the pandemic will, stay with a lot of people who will keep going out on trails, getting their families out, and having a good time.
Absolutely, and I believe probably once the weather gets cooler, people will still get out and go for a walk and find a nice hiking trail to go get lost in.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I really look forward to the fall.
Yeah.
Because that's when I want to be outside. Not only is it, beautiful weather from, you're not too hot, not too many bugs, you get the beautiful foliage, but for me, it's also football season. So like I have the extra energy that I have to get out probably either before a game or after a game, depending. And for me, that's when I really connect to the outdoors.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure things quiet down in the winter for everybody that's involved with the forests and parks and all the different aspects of that way it goes, but I'm sure there's still maintenance and stuff that you have to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Once the season quiets down.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, on one hand, the winter is when we do a lot of our planning for, the spring through the fall, because, but then we also have a good number of storms that happen during that time that we have to respond to. And there actually are a lot of people who prefer hiking in the winter.
Right.
Because there aren't as many people around. They still don't have the issues with getting sweaty or getting buggy, and you can have a little bit more of a remote experience when you're out there on your own. Also, a lot of the trails lend themselves really well to snowshoeing and other, cross-country skiing. And so some people really look forward to the winter to have that extra special experience. But yeah, the trails are open year-round. And at any time of year, you're going to find people out there who will swear that that's their favorite season.
Absolutely. Now, is snowshoeing as hard as it seems? I don't think I could do it because I got 2 left feet.
Oh, you could do it as long as I definitely recommend getting some walking poles.
Okay, yeah.
When you give it a try, and
Okay.
that'll just help you be a little bit stable there. But yeah, imagine walking with tennis rackets attached to your feet.
Yeah.
It does help you to stay on top of the snow,
Right.
and even gives you a little bit of traction. And,
does
and
it?
I really like it. In some ways, you'll be more steady on your snowshoes than you would be if you just were in your boots.
Really?
Yeah, going through the snow. So yeah, give it a try.
Cool.
I have a couple pair of snowshoes.
You've done it? Okay.
I will
right.
happily lend them to
We'll
you.
have to, you and I will
We'll
have
get
to,
out.
this
Let's do it.
winter, we'll have to go and hang out. And,
Why not?
Sure.
Let's
We
do
could-
it.
We could do that.
Yeah.
That would be fun. That would be an
cool.
experience. That would be an experience.
And isn't that what life's all about?
Absolutely. But if we've got a little bit more time left, if people want information on the CFPA, where can they go?
Well, the best place to find out about us is on our website, which
Okay.
is ctwoodlands.org.
Yeah.
And you can find out ways to volunteer with the organization, to hopefully join, to learn about the trails and the various things that are going on. And during the legislative season, you'll see lots of content there for me,
There you go.
because there are many ways that people can get involved to protect forest parks and trails.
Absolutely. Eric Hammerling from the Connecticut Forest and Park Association. Thanks for some time. We'll see you again soon.
My pleasure.
You got
I
it.
look forward to that.
Thanks, buddy. On behalf of Eric Hammerling, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks. Good night. We'll see you next time.